Hey there, welcome to NSTACK.in. In this video, I am going to talk about numbers. So first of all, I will create a file called 02 numbers. So number is something new for most of you because number is not available in all the programming language. In other programming language, there is concept of integer, there is concept of double. So in the double, we store the floating value. In the int, we store the integer value. But in the Dart there is a concept of number. In the number we can store double as well as the integer, so it is the combination of integer and double. So let's see how it works. So first let's see how we define a variable of type num. So we just have to write num, which is a data type, after that a. So let's give some initial value also. So now here you can see that I have defined b with some initial value which is integer. So let's define C with some initial value which is going to be floating value. So you see that we are having a floating value in the C. So now let's print all of these and let's see if it works. C and B dot space the file name 02. Yeah, so you can see we got null for the A because nothing is stored in it. For the B we get 10. It's fine because we have stored 10, which is an integer. And for the C you can see we are getting 3.14, which is the floating value. So I hope you got the idea that how this is happening. Like you can store anything. Like by seeing this example you can clearly understand that we can store integer as well as the double. So let's move to the next example and let's see what is available in other programming language. So if we make this as the double, so now you can see here we have defined A as the double, we have defined B as the double and C also as the double. In the A we are not storing anything, in the B we are trying to store an integer, in the C we are trying to store a double or floating value. You might think that this is same, we just have updated the num to the double and this looks same. So let's run this program and let me make you feel that this is not same. So for the first A we are getting null, it's fine. If we do not store anything we are going to null in every case and every data type. And for the B, in the first case we got 10. When we stored 10 here you can see we get output as 10, but in the case of double when we store 10 we are getting output as 10.0, which is a floating value because it contains some decimal part also. So from this you got the idea, if you will try to store the integer inside a double, it is going to be converted into double by adding the floating value after the integral part, which clearly does not change its value because 10 and 10.0 are same. In the mathematics both are same, but if you will see, one contain the decimal part and the other do not contains this. Differentiate both of these, it makes one as the integer and other as the floating value. So I hope you got this point also. So let's move further and let's see the integer. So if we take the same example and change the double to the integer, now here is the twist. So when we do this we are getting one error for the C. It says that a value of type double can't be stored or assigned to a variable of type integer. So this is a double and we are trying to assign this in the integer, which is not possible. But in the previous case when we were trying to store the integer into a double, like it happened. So we can clearly store the integer in the double, but the reverse is not true. So you cannot store double in the integer. So we need to remove this line because this is wrong. And as we have commented the C, we need to just comment this line also, or let's remove this one. You cannot do this one. So let's print this and let's see if it works. So now if I will run, you see that we are getting 10, not 10.0, because integer can't contain the decimal part. Okay, let's see some of the basic operation which are available on numbers, which is addition, subtraction and division. So how we can do that? So for that I will first comment this down. So let's create a num of with the label A, num B with the 5 value, num result with A plus B, and let's print the result now. So there is some mistake, yeah. So now this one is fine. We are defining two variable a and b of type number, and I am trying to add them. It happened, it's fine. uh, Let me do one thing. I can like do it quickly by making it add, subtract, multiply, and divide. So for this I will use subtract symbol, I will use multiply symbol, and the divide symbol for this, and let's print all the result one by one. So how we can do that? We will just duplicate this line. Now I will write add, print subtract, sorry, I clicked at the wrong place. So multiply and divide. Okay, so now I am just going to print this. You can see that when we are trying to apply all the four operation on the number or num, what happens? The add get happened, which is 15, which is an integer, there is no decimal part. When we try to subtract, we got 5, which is again an integer. When we try to multiply, we get 20, which is again an integer. Not 20, it's 50, which is again an integer. And for the division, we got the double. So this is what I want to show you. So when you try to, so as you see that a and b are integer, like it contains the integer value. So in this case, if we add two integer, the answer is going to be integer. When subtracting, answer will be integer. When doing the multiplication, the answer is going to be what will be the answer? The answer is going to be integer again. But while dividing two integer, the answer will always be a double. Why this happened? Because sometimes if I will suppose make the b as 3, and now if I will run this, what is going to happen? Still all the first three result are integer, because addition of two integer is always integer, subtraction is integer, multiplication is integer, but division of two integer can be either a integer or the double or the floating value. So this is the reason why whenever we are dividing two number, we are getting answer as the double, because if we get the integer, it can be stored in the double. If we get the double, it can be stored in the double. So the answer could be anything, so it is better to store in the double. So if we will try to store in the integer, what is going to happen? When there will be any decimal part, we cannot store that answer, because integer do not hold the decimal value. So this was the reason. So let me show you the same example with little change. So I am just going to change the num to the double. So let's run this. Now let's see what happens. So I had made a very simple change. I have just updated the num to the double. So now I am having a variable double, a with the 10 value, b with the 3 value, and if I will try to run this, I will get answer as double for all of this. If we add two double, the answer cannot be stored in integer. You can see we are getting the error. So addition, subtraction, division or multiplication of the double is going to always be double. Okay, because adding to floating value 0.5 and 0.3, adding to floating value will always give us a floating value. You can see that adding to floating value is always going to give us a floating value. And you might think that if we add 10 and 20, so this is not a floating value, this is not a floating value, but as soon as you store this inside a which is of type double, this is going to be converted into the floating value. So when there is a floating value, and when you are applying the addition, subtraction, division and multiplication on the floating value, the answer is going to be floating, which means it will contain some decimal part. Now I am going to show you the last thing, which is integer. So suppose if I convert this into the integer, so now this one is fine. An integer can hold 10, it is correct. An integer can hold 20, it is also correct. So let's make it as b 5. Now it's fine. So if we will add, we will get the addition, we will subtract, we will get the subtraction, because adding of two integer will always be an integer, subtracting two integer will always give us the integer, multiplying will always give the integer, but dividing is not going to give us always the integer. The same case came if we will divide 10 by 5, the answer is going to be 2 for this case. But if we will divide this by 3, both are integer, we can easily divide them, so the answer is going to be 3.3. So you can clearly see that sometimes dividing two integer is going to give us integer, sometimes dividing two integer we are going to get the double value. So for this we are going to store this in the double. We cannot store this into the integer. So I hope you got the reason. I talked about this earlier also when I was showing the example of num. Dividing to num is always going to give us double. But sometimes we want to fix it by making it double. So this is the first way. Okay, so now you can see that we are getting the floating value as the answer. But sometimes people say I want to ignore the decimal part. Whenever I am dividing to integer, I want only the integral part only. I do not want this 0.333335. So what they can do, so for that they will first convert this into the integer. Now this is giving us the error, so we will add this one, which is the tilde sign. Let me show you this. We will add the tilde sign here. Now this is going to return us only the integral part. It will not return us the decimal part. So let's run this and let's see. So you can no, I forget to save. Let's save this file first. Now let's run this. You can see we are getting 13, 7, 30. Fine. Now when we will divide these two things, we are going to get 3.3335, but we are only getting 3, which is the uh, integral part. So now if I will make it be as 4, we are getting 2. So when we will divide 10 by 4, we are going to get 2.5, but we are getting only 2 because we are ignoring that part. So we will talk about this operator in later video, and in the later video there will be a video regarding operator where I will be only talking about different operators. So thank you. If you face any problem, you can write in the comment, and if you like it, hit the like button. Thank you.